the top part of this plan that kind of runs along the street there. So kind of the kids wing, we've kind of come up with this angular plan. Well, I typically don't prefer to have this much of an angle across a lot of classrooms and all. It really maximizes the square footage along that side street. I do think we'll have like a 15-foot setback on that side just because those apartments are there. So that'll be considered residential. So this is kind of 15 feet off that side property line. The angle gives us more space if we don't go with the angle and kind of box, we have about 3 stair steps to stay within that setback. So I think going with the angle really maximizes the amount of space you get to build out over there. So what we kind of got here is one corridor trying to kind of maximize square footage for classrooms and everything versus circulation. So that's a 10-foot wide corridor going from kind of kids entry check-in all the way through to some emergency back doors there. And that picks up all your existing classrooms that we've kind of flipped from the existing hallway. We've filled in the existing hallway, made the existing Jack and Jill restroom bigger, added another one, and some table and chair storage that's coming out of worship there, where you could wheel in table chair carts, and then just kind of flip those classroom doors to the new children's corridor. Thinking probably younger kids on that lower side with your Jack and Jill restrooms, and then up top we kind of to minimize the amount of just lost circulation space, large group room for probably elementary school age kids with 5 classrooms coming off of it. So that, it's kind of, if you go to worship and then break out your room, parents can come back. We've got kind of double doors, so parents can enter one door, pick up the kids and come back out the other door. Then obviously some larger restrooms for the older kids that are located off the hallway there.
Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. Any questions or comments for Matt and his team?
And y'all, we'll send this plan to you, so don't feel like you gotta get us every comment right now.
I mean, my initial thought is, you guys did a good job of doing what we talked about. I have to process it all, but
yeah, obviously.
I think, I like how they're all,
for sure.
I appreciate the Jack and Jill bathrooms like we talked about. Like that was, that's definitely helpful. And those 3 rooms down there.
Yeah, so those are the 3 nurseries, and Leah's added that mother's room down there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you needed to get something else in there, the multi-purpose room could shrink a little bit. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, no, I think those rooms down there, size-wise, are fine.
Yeah, Matt, of course, as noted, I think, especially with the kids stuff, it'd be, for Lindsay to kind of sit and look at it and kind of get the feel, where would I put everybody, and would the classrooms be the right size and all that. But outside of that, I feel like, as we talked about trying to fit 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack, I feel like this is a, pretty good first, idea draft on how to do that. So to me, I'm pretty amazed that you were able to fit as many classrooms in there on the other side as you did with a big group room. with restrooms just on the kids side. So this is obviously, why you guys are the experts and y'all do this, because you can come up with something that we wouldn't have probably been able to come up with. The slant isn't, and obviously like ideal. At the same time, I get what you're also saying. Like either if you don't do the slant, you're going to do a stair step, and that's going to be, isn't going to be any more helpful. So
Yeah, it kind of cut out that classroom on the left that kind of starts the angle. Like those things were basically from that corner over, 40 feet and then up another 20 feet, then over 40 feet. So really you're losing a lot of square footage. And I think just building economy wise, I haven't done I've done one angle in a pre-manufactured metal building before, frame. So they can do them. It's not their typical, but I think it's probably actually more economical for them to do this versus doing the step in and out kind of the building. So I think it's kind of in a scale of economy. I mean, you got to pay a certain amount to get started. So, going ahead and capturing that extra square footage, like you talked about, it's kind of like if you're going to do one project on this site, you might as well kind of maximize it. So I think this kind of form and shape is kind of how you maximize it.
Yeah, no, I think it helps. Lindsay will have to kind of look at it and go, hey, where the slants are, obviously it's not, a lot of that is not a lot of usable square footage. So she'll have to kind of go, it helps spatially because it makes the room feel bigger, but usability, you can't put something in a crevy of a corner kind of thing. But she can still start to kind of think through, hey, the outside of that, the angular part of it, do I still have enough usable space for rugs and chairs and all of that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the good thing in our classrooms, we're not doing individual desk and things. So my initial thought is, the slants are different, but I don't think they're a huge deterrent because we have tables and chairs, but I don't see it being a huge deal, at least not initially. I agree with Ryan that amazed of what you guys can do, because I felt like what I was telling you last week was like impossible. So for y'all to come back and go, well, here is an option. It's very impressive.
Thank you.
That large group space, what is the square footage compared to the current multipurpose room? Because all the classrooms are at 350, which are the same as the current ones we have, which is good.
I keep forgetting that number of the current square footage. Yeah, I just draw the region.
I'm pulling up an old drawing. Currently it's
So we've
38
got
foot 10 by 30, 10.
Yeah, we've got it a little over 1,100 square feet. So we're actually a little bit larger,
Okay, that's good.
about 300 square feet.
Do you know, Matt? I mean, I'm guessing your system kind of will add all together. Previously when we had talked about the build, I think on the front there was something like an additional 2,000 something square feet, and with that extra wing, I think it was like, what is it, like an additional 7 just on that original draft we did. I think it was like additional 7 or 8,000 square feet. My guess is from what you've done now, we've picked up like the adage gives us more than that.
Yeah, we're definitely up on that angle. We will go ahead and put the square footage takeoffs on here before we send it back over to Chase for them to send it out. So we'll get you that information.
Okay. That would just help as we think about some construction cost kind of things,
Absolutely.
An extra 3,000 square feet or something.
And so kind of moving on from the kids area, and we did kind of put an entrance door up there thinking that, the way that drive comes in, we could put kind of a canopy on the building, kind of along those rectangular kids' classrooms on the front. That way, if people wanted to stop, drop off kids, mom, whatever, they could do that and kind of walk right in to that area to go into the check-in.
So in that area in the common space, is that where we're thinking check-in, like before the double doors in the kids' wing? Like,
It could be either way. Leah put in kind of a check-in area, and that could extend all the way down that wall, or it could be out kind of along this storage wall. Either way.
yeah, I feel like with check-in, it always sort of seems to get a little like bottlenecked. And so like if it was just in the hallway, yeah, it would be, yeah, I think that's going to be sort of an issue, however, but.
So for the commons, Leah's kind of added this cafe prep and cafe to kind of the center, kind of like we talked about. If we're putting check-in up there, kind of try to spread things across the commons so that everybody's not trying to go to the same area. So that one's kind of in the center, and then this large multi-purpose room with the roll-up doors kind of down on the plan south there.
Now, one thing I know, Nikki can speak more into this. She'll be kind of helpful when we're looking at looking at kind of like kitchen-esque type space. Obviously, our kitchen coffee house area is gone, and we do some things where we have church fellowships or other things where certain ice, having a ice maker and having a refrigerator and all that is possible. So maybe you can kind of walk us through, and Nikki can even share what needs are to see if what is currently there would still help meet some of that, or whether we would still need to figure something out.
And I think we can trade between what's in that cafe prep room. If it needs more square footage, coffee counter, and obviously you've got a little more that we can extend, but really it's just a function of what you guys need to fit in that room. And we can pull, if you just want to get us a list, we can kind of go ahead and do a quick layout of that equipment in there. We've done the same thing. Typically, cafe prep, stick the coffee brewers in there, refrigerator, warming drawers or warming cabinets if y'all are, bringing in trays of food for events, they can go in there. So that's kind of ends up being a catch-all room with storage, just saying kind of a little bit of everything crammed in there. But I think we can accomplish a pretty good layout. But if y'all want to give us a list of equipment, we can work on that.
Okay.
Are the bathrooms, are they the same size, or is it basically keeping the bathrooms currently as they are?
It's currently keeping them as they are and adding that one kind of family assist restroom. If y'all need to extend them, then it just kind of probably goes into that first classroom. So that's just something to kind of think about as we go through this exercise.
And some of that may be, your expertise with that to start to go, okay, hey, by code, do we have enough bathrooms, or are we going to get stuck where if the facility in one particular sitting could all of a sudden now hold 500 people, that our current bathrooms would just be overloaded or something. The one family assist gives one extra bathroom, but.
Yeah, and as we kind of this next step, we'll be checking through everything on that side. Worship. So Leah's kind of laid it out with stadium seating there. Kind of like Ryan had talked about last week, just some platforms, sound light locks on the side, and that's keeping that control booth in the same area.
I personally really like that layout. Just from, doors on either side, also having that space right about where the mouse is right now for, and kind of an overflow, especially for ushers to float back and forth. And I like the baptistry in the corner too. I think that looks pretty good on my end.
That's great. Yeah, and that gives y'all, we went ahead and angled those sidewalls a little more. So if you wanted to do any screens up there or anything. Also, I think kind of with that seating going up through the middle, obviously your side seats, you're still going to have some of those columns in the way. But, those center seats in the stadium area, they're still giving you a view right to the platform. So, the layout, people will probably sit in those side seats after everything else is filled up.
Yeah, I like removing that complication too of the, 4 more posts potentially being in the way. And I'm assuming those posts would be kind of right on the edge of that stadium seating.
Yeah, they're kind of
Yeah.
aligned.
If we extend all the way back, I think that's only exposing what, one more? No, I guess we'd have 2 posts. So there would be, I'm guessing there's one in our current wall where you walk in. There's probably a post there. It's just hidden in the wall. So it exposes 4. Is that what it does?
I
That's
think
right.
so.
Give that plan. Well, we're sort of being right before that wall, kind of in line with the booth there.
Okay, because we've got 4 in there right now, 2 on each side. And my guess is that I don't know if taking it all the way to the wall exposes 1 more or 2 more.
Looks
Maybe.
like just one more pair.
Yeah, okay, 1 more pair. Well, good. I mean, obviously that's better. The fewer the better. And it's not the way you guys designed it. It's not what's exposed wouldn't affect any more viewability because you guys have it kind of, going up the stairs, so nobody's going to be behind it.
Ryan, what do you think about that? As far as trying to still keep some of that intimate feel, especially if people in the back are, really far away, just going up. Do you think that helps at all?
Yeah, no, I mean, I like in an ideal world, yes, because we have talked about this room would start to get rather long because it wouldn't have a lot of width. So I think going up, some of the practical things that come into it is going, okay, how when we talk about some type of stadium seating, how high is it going? Because we know that there's only so much height in the room. So, on that last seat up top, is it 5 foot off the ground? Is it 10 feet off the ground? So getting an idea of like some of the practicality of that. And then obviously just the cost measures that, you're factoring in, hey, certain things are ideal, but how much does it cost to add an extra level like that? But in ideal, yeah, it seems like to me that would be a great solution to the depth problem.
When I think having the seating, having the sound light locks and the entries on the outside and having the seating come in kind of help with that a little bit too. Sometimes if you have the center entry, then you're kind of breaking your people, where this kind of focuses the people to the inside. So it keeps it a little more intimate.
Yeah, I really like what you guys have done. And even for us, some of these things could always be phases, right? It could be, hey,
Yeah.
phase 1 is we want to build out the children's space and we're going to extend the sanctuary, but we're not adding stadium seating, we're not adding the baptistry, we're just extending the room size, and then later on, hey, we want to go add the extra stadium seating and we want to get the baptistry. So some of these things could be phased out over time as money comes in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. I'm not sure the timeline in this meeting, but if we could circle back to the cafe and prep area, I have some questions when there's opportunity to ask.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I see the estimated square footage for that is around 133 square foot. Currently, we're operating on about 180-ish square foot.
Okay.
Now, do I think our current square footage helps us utilize things to the best of that space's ability? No. So holding tension with that, the space we currently have at about 180 is very much in line with the current capacity of people that we have for the most part, outside of some minor tweaking. So if we're trying to build a facility that is potentially going to upwards towards, double our capacity, I just don't see what we have now serving us well or efficiently, much less going down. So what is there any room to expand that a little bit? Because that's my big concern. Like Ryan mentioned a refrigerator, and we have a double. It's probably, I don't know, anywhere between a 17 and a 19 cubic foot refrigerator, something that you would have in your house or my house or something like that. Well, that does not cut it, not even a little bit, for when we do events. And so we really kind of need one of the full-size industrial ones, especially if we think we're wanting to project growth, right? And sustain that. I don't see that fitting in this type of dynamic. The warming trays, that would be a huge bonus. I see that replacing what we have as far as a small range now, which that would be great. I'm having a hard time seeing with what our realistic needs down the road are to fit in the space provided. The cafe part would probably be okay, because we could scale that down to really, like, what is it meant to serve? It's meant to serve coffee and refreshments. You don't need as much space as we currently have in order to make that happen. Scaling back into where we have that currently proposed, that could probably work. My most concern is probably the size of the prep space.
But I think that's just where we need to get what you want to put in there, and then we
Okay.
can do a layout.
Okay.
This is all just a guess, so
Gotcha.
absolutely. I mean, this
Okay.
is the time to kind of list all that out and see
Okay.
how it'll fit.
Okay. That's helpful for me, because it's like, well, if this is kind of what the square footage was going to look like, well, that's really going to drive what then goes in there priority wise,
Yeah.
So that's
And
helpful to know.
we may get to that point,
Mhm.
obviously y'all are kind of locked into this building footprint, but
Right.
I'd rather try to maximize it as much as possible for what you guys need.
Gotcha. Where would there be space to have any sort of televisions hardwired to the walls and community gathering? Because we have folks that gather in the lobby currently, not just for fellowship, but to also watch the sermon.
Yeah.
Where would that fit into this?
I would think one place, well, obviously these days, I mean, almost anywhere. I think that cafe prep room can be used as a nice kind of welcome wall as people come in. Obviously, it's just a big blank space. I know y'all kind of have some of those elements in your current building there as you come in. So I think that would be a great space for that. But also that multi-purpose room, some of the thinking with that is that on Sundays it's kind of more of a seating area and part of the commons. So obviously you can do some screens in there, and then just kind of, other areas of the lobby. We typically see people put screens all over the place these days because they're so cheap.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. That really helps me kind of process this a little bit. I appreciate that.
Like I
Matt
said,
had a
go ahead.
I think you had said before, like maybe on that room, Matt, there could be a good idea to put kind of like some roll-up garage doors or something.
Yeah, and
So
those
that
are
way Yeah.
Gotcha.
There's two things with the tracks. Those are those overhead doors. That way it kind of opens up a little bit. So people don't feel like they can't go sit in there.
Oh, got you. So you're talking on the wall of the multi-purpose room, those lines are
Yeah.
garage style doors.
Those are garage
right there.
doors. Yeah, rolling
Oh,
doors.
okay. Okay.
So that way, you know, you can use it during the week or something, or even on Sunday if you're doing like next steps or something like that. Close the doors. Otherwise, it can become a seating area. And Leah's shown
I
several
really like
different
that
types of
actually.
furniture in there, but you know, it could be couches on one half, tables on the other. So it's kind of a
Yeah.
flexible thing.
Yeah. I think it's great.
One thing, Nikki and Lindsay would be helpful for this too. We could think about if we ended up getting into an area where that prep space in the front isn't enough for like cafe type stuff for what what we do and what we would, as you said, grow and need more. A potential another thought would be, hey, if that spot would start to get so big, it would dominate the lobby. Depending on how Lindsay looks and goes, how many classrooms do we have to have with what they've been added? If it became something like one of the nursery spots or something like that where there's multiple nursery, maybe there's a classroom or another space where it could also be turned into kind of like a room that does have a bigger refrigerator. Maybe it's got a table where staff can sit and eat their lunch. But maybe there's also another way to kind of go, hey, the coffee spot doesn't have to be the sole prep kitchen, everything. It could be mainly a functional come in, get your coffee. We got some things. But if we're doing a big event, we're able to prep some other things and wheel them in from somewhere else. Just an outside
Yeah.
thought. If we start thinking about it too, depending on what's needed.
I definitely agree that, initially we won't need all the classrooms initially. So there is definitely some leeway with that. The other thing, just looking is storage. I mean, storage is always going to be an issue. And so I was even thinking on that lower side where those nurseries are. Initially, if I was going to choose a room to not have as kids yet, I would choose like that crawler space. So if that had to become storage, at least initially, I think there is some leeway with that. 'Cause I know that we're not going to go from our 7 classrooms to straight to 14. So
With the multi-purpose room, I'm curious, why could it be that the cafe kind of kitchen area move over to that area where there is seating and flexibility for gathering space and it's not quite front and center? Because ideally it would be really great to preserve that space for like a connect desk, because that's like in the middle of all the foot traffic. Ideally, you don't, as this is, I don't see a great spot for an alternative place for that. So I don't know if that would be a possible consideration, like to move that to the bottom right corner, the cafe prep and the cafe, like maybe have it all there on the far right side, and then it overlook all that seating and gathering area, which then allows that center point where the current proposed cafe prep is, to just be a really nice built-in welcome desk where, everybody who maybe it's their first time or they need a point of direction, it is no question what that desk is for.
Yeah, I think that's just a function of what you guys want. We're open to doing it either way.
Yeah, because then, I mean, we have the garage doors down. Well, then the cafe area and the kitchen area, well, that's out of sight, out of mind. I don't know. To me, I think it could be cool somewhere over along those lines.
Yeah, Matt. I mean, I think probably unless Jeremiah or has got something. I know you haven't shared much, Jeremiah, but or anybody really, but um, we could. A lot of it would probably be us taking it, maybe trying to meet sometime in the next week, and then kind of shift around some stuff that if we think it might need to be shifted, and then come back to you when we've got a little bit of time to digest it. Is that a potential? Because I think this is great. I think this is like, yeah, I mean, I think so far it's a home run outside of maybe some tweaking, but to do the tweaking, it may be that we need to sit down as a team and have that conversation about some of these pieces and then come back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think probably the thing for us to do, we'll put those square footages and everything on here, and then we'll get that back over to you guys. Y'all can take, a week or two to have those meetings, talk, and then we can get back together and kind of get your feedback on it. That'd be fine.
What's typically, Matt, your kind of timeline so that as we're thinking about that? Because, even if I like the staff, if we said, hey, we're going to circle Monday or Tuesday and we're going to try to hammer some of these things out. Obviously, once we get feedback to you, you're going to need, you're probably not going to have all that done by Thursday in 2 days. So is the timeline typically once we get back to you, about a week and then you're good?
Yeah, I think about another week after your comments will give us enough time to kind of make those changes and then get back in front of you again.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll make that a goal then to maybe meet next Tuesday and try to hammer some of these things out. And then that way I can get it to you by end of day, and then you've got a week until our next meeting.
That'll work. All right. We'll kind of put some of that information on the plan and get it over to you guys so y'all can start thinking about it.
Yeah. Was there any based on Matt's what they've put together? Any of our staff? I don't know. Did you just a question about something that's currently there? I feel like Matt walked through it pretty good, but if anybody's got a question that's helpful for him to answer before we kind of wrap it up and then work on it on our end.
Would there be, so currently we utilize some attic space.
Yeah.
Is
kind
that
of
still a
storage.
thing?
Oh yeah, that's definitely possible. We just have to
I
structure
mean, I
it.
don't really,
You could
I
even-
don't go up there, but I know that I'm just trying to think of the things this is potentially we're losing. But
Yeah. No, we can even look at places in that new building to add some additional space. So that's not an issue.
Yeah, that was going to be one question I have with that new wing area. That's obviously going to change roof structure and pitch and stuff. So would that allow, whether it's over our current storage area, kind of where your cursor is that going to allow us more headroom in our current attic? And would that allow us to then possibly grow it or whatnot? I know roof structure is not really where our roof pitches are not really where we're at yet, but just kind of thinking about what that looks like over that space as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm guessing, Matt, that you're I know we haven't really like looked at exterior kind of rendering type stuff, but my guess is that addition along the road would more or less be kind of, maybe there is some pitch to it, but more or less it's a pretty flat roof versus the pitch of what we have right now.
Correct. It'll probably be pretty flat. And the way that'll work with your existing building, it's almost another building, the way those kind of pre-engineered structures work. So, obviously we'll kind of tie the height into where your existing building's kind of the slope is hitting. We'll kind of take a look at all that, but we will have the potential maybe to bump up part of it if we want to make two different heights, or we can look at some different things when we kind of get into the 3D portion.
I'm not sure if this is full or not too, but Lindsay Martin has volunteered her garage as extra storage space.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you tell Chris that. I'd love to hear that conversation.
Remote storage is kind of what we call it. It's off campus or second campus storage, something along those lines. Chase, you got any final thoughts or input?
No, as soon as y'all have time to, like I said, review it and everything, I can set up another meeting with Matt and his team and, get that feedback to them and circle back for another meeting just to make sure we have all of our marching orders. And then, once we have that, I think Matt and his team can put some exterior renderings together, just so you kind of know what it looks like. And then maybe we can get some pricing so that you kind of know what ballpark we're playing in with all of these changes. Definitely going to be higher than, the original assumptions. But, I think if you're looking at 10 to 15 years, this is probably the direction that we need to go, or, the Gathering Church needs to go.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you, Matt, and remind me again with Matt helping that joined us last week. Leah, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll get that back over to Chase. Like I said, we'll include those square footage areas, just so you know, Ryan. And then you'll just kind of let us know when we're ready to schedule that next meeting.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of the meeting and giving your feedback. It really helps the process along.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, and I will send out this Zoom call. We recorded it, so if you needed to go back and look or listen to something, I'll be sending that out in the next day or so, so everybody can go back and listen to it. All right. Well, thank you all, and y'all have a blessed day, blessed afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good day.